What's up, guys? Mighty Mammoth Swine here, and I am here for GBA Season 6, Week 2 Pick'em Crew.
What's going on, guys? You got Matty Brolick here as well, and Week 1 was very intense. The analysts did not do very well, and neither did you guys. I don't know about you guys individually, but as a whole, the fans did not do too well in the picks from last week. So let's see if we could all step it up for Week 2.
Yeah, before we actually get started, we do want to address Monatoule. Now Monatoule is a coach, so his picks will no longer be counting. We actually have a replacement picker, which is Ospastic, and he will be absorbing the picks for Monatoule last week as well. So Spastic's going to be the picker for him moving forward.
Yep.
Moving on to the last week's picks, we actually see one coach or one picker decided to go 5-3. So very good on him. Dallas, are you? Fantastic job picking those matches. But everyone else, not so good. Some 4-4s, which was myself. Some 3-5s, which was Maddie and a few others. And really have to step it up this week. So let's take a look at the Pick'em Crew for week number 2. The first match, we have the Boston Red Sox versus the Boo Russia Don fan, and this is by far the closest match to call this week. Neither team has really gotten like a huge foothold going forward. Lars obviously losing last week, and then Nick actually getting a win last week, but a win would solidify Nick as being one of the top coaches again in the league, and Lars would just be slipping back. And I know Lars does not want to slip back. Lars does not want to lose again, which is why I chose Lars. I think he has a lot of motivation going forward, and I feel like he's going to come on top of this win.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening because Lars is a great player, and I do think he has a pretty strong team. And like you said, he did so well last year that I can't really see him slipping too far. But at the same time, Nick is coming off of a win, and when I was looking at both of their teams, I do like Nick's matchup a little bit better. So if Nick plays like he did last week, then I do think he has a pretty good chance at winning. So I guess we'll just see what happens there. But something that Baby Nick did not mention is that the polls on Twitter were actually 50-50 right down the middle for this game. Like actually 50-50. And we didn't even know what to do. So we had Battler X actually vote for the last one, and he went with Nick. So that's why we decided to make that the fan pick. I'm not sure if it still says 50-50 or not, but it was by the time we recorded this video. So, yeah, that's why we went with that for the fans. But really, really tough one to call, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lars does surprise me on this one.
Yeah, and not only was it split 50-50 between the fans, but also the pickers here. Exactly 50-50 if you include the fan vote as well.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, very, very close match to call, and it's going to be really, really exciting. Moving on to the next match, which was a little bit easier to call, or at least we think it was a little bit easier to call. We have the Milwaukee Sawsbucks versus the Pittsburgh Piratas. Tup coming off of a big win last week, looking forward to doing it again, and I think he will do it again. So does Maddie, so does Burke, who actually made this his lock of the week, who says anyone that plays Battler X is gonna win. That's pretty much what he said. Yeah, everyone else is really picking Tup this week, and why wouldn't you? He played really well last week, and I think Mega Pidgeot's going to be able to put in some work again this week.
Yeah, Mega Pidgeot and that Sandrust Excadrill could really just go rampant on Battler X's team. And something about Battler X I did want to mention was that last week he did make some pretty big mistakes, but he caught them right away. So if he could just think a little bit more for this next battle and, just give himself a little more time to really go over his plays and try to think long term, then I think that he could play much better. And for example, if he did not make some of those mistakes last week, then that could have been a much closer game. But hindsight is 20/20, but we just have not seen enough of Battler X to really have enough confidence in him to really want to pick him to win. So because of that, we have to go with Tup coming off of a big win and just having a pretty nice team matchup in my opinion.
Yeah, he definitely does, and Tup has actually never won back-to-back games, so that's not really working in his favor, and I definitely see Steve winning games this week, or this year, or this season, really, and I feel like this is definitely a winnable week for him, where he could go out and really show why he drafted the things this week, or drafted the things this season.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. This one could go either way. So, with that being said, we'll move on to game number 3, and we have the Tampa Bay Lux Rays, which is actually Gub's team taken over by Monatoule and renamed to the Tampa Bay Lux Rays against the San Jose Sharpedos, coached by Tom. Now, both Baby Nick and I went with this for our locks of the week because Monatoule, for those of you guys who may not know him too well, he has played in other leagues before. He's a good Smogon player as well. He's just a really solid player all around, and I think especially the fact that it's his first game in the big leagues, he's really going to come out with his heart and soul and just go all out and prove that he's going to be a big threat in this league. And he's got a great team behind him. Gubs did draft a fantastic team, so it's not like Monatoule is really lacking in that department. So I think he can make it work, and I think that he will be a huge threat this season. Now, Tom did not play particularly well last week or prep particularly well, and his team, I think that it could be interesting if he really is comfortable with those Pokemon, but it does not strike me as just being a fantastic team right off the bat. So I really think he needs to go the extra mile to win this one, which is why I'm a lot more confident with Monatoule winning.
Yeah, and I actually made him my lock, and so did you. I can't see Monatoule losing this game, and I really don't see Tom winning this game. Tom has not been able to show us why we should pick him. Tom has not won a game in the GBA this season. He's transitioning from being an analyst, and he hasn't had a lot of success since he made the playoffs back in season 2, something like that. And that was with a much, much different roster. I really want to see how he adapts to this team, but I also want to see how Monatoule adapts to his team. Of course, he didn't draft any of these Pokemon, so these might not be things that he's very comfortable using, but then again, Gubs also did draft a very, very good team. Like I said, I don't see Monatoule losing this one, so I decided to make him my lock of the week. But the fans and you guys actually decided to make Tom your pick this week. So definitely interesting, but I don't see him winning this one, and I see him kind of dropping in support over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Moving on to the next match, we have the San Francisco Arcaniners versus the New Orleans Pelipers. We have John versus George. John and George go way back. I believe they were friends since George was in middle school, believe it or not. And George is widely considered one of the best players in the format, one of the best players in the community. He's one of the top UU players in all of Smogon right now. He's very, very good at the format. He's very, very good at what he does. But if there's one person that can consistently beat George, my money would be on John. Like I said, they've known each other for such a long time. John is kind of in his head, and John kind of knows the way he plays and sort of the plays that he would make and how to predict around those and things like that. And as I said last week, John is not the player to make flashy plays, but this game is the one where he's going to go out and make flashy plays. He knows that if he wants to win this game, he's going to have to make flashy plays. He's going to have to come up with creative sets, because the last time these two teams meet, it was a natural gift Scizor with natural gift fire that really, really put George over the end and allowed him to win the match. So it's kind of bold on my part to put your lock of the week on this one, because John is such a good player and he's so consistent. But two teams actually decided to lock against each other. So one team locked George, and then the Dallas Star U also locked John, which was really, really interesting. We don't really see that often.
That's true. Someone's going to be losing their lock of the week here. And come on, guys. If you guys have not seen their match in Season 4, go watch it before you watch this game. Even if you have seen it, go watch it again, because, not Season 4, Season 5 rather. It is so good. Just like Baby Nick just mentioned, the natural gift fire Scizor was just so epic, and it allowed George to win a really, really close match. With the two guys knowing each other so well, it's just they knew what moves they were going to make, like so many turns ahead, because they know how each other likes to play. They know how they like to set certain things up and try to get themselves into certain scenarios. And it was really interesting to watch just two really close friends going at it. And this week, they both have really solid teams, and they're coming off very, very strong performances in week 1. So, it was so tough to call. But I just decided to go with the San Francisco Arcaniners because, like Baby Nick said, George is one of the best players in the format, hands down. So I decided to go with him because I also looked at the matchups, and I think George has a pretty good matchup against John, although I do think John has a very strong team as well. I just think George has certain threats that are going to be tough for John to counter. So because of those reasons, I'm going to go with the Arcaniners, but would not be surprised to see the Pelipers win this one because John played really well last week, and he probably is going to want some revenge for that crazy game last season. And that will segue into the fifth game of the week, which is the Newcastle United, coached by Fufu, against the Atlanta Holuchas, coached by Fizz. And now this was another extremely tough one to call. I think it's going to be an amazing game. Fufu was my pick because he did play pretty well last week, but it seems like he got out-prepped by John to an extent, and he really needs to come out and prove that he could be a top player in this format, because he is. He's a fantastic player. He's got a really solid team to back him up, but he is just kind of entering into the GBA and getting used to things on the big stage, so he really needs to get out there and make a name for himself as one of the better players in this league. So because of that, I think he really needs this win more than Fizz needs it, because Fizz has just always had so much success in this league, but at the same time, he has had so much success in this league, which makes him a great opponent, and it also lessens the chance of him really slipping up in this match and not preparing enough or not playing well, because he really needs to get a win back too. So this one could go either way, but I decided to go with Sam and Newcastle United.
Yeah, entering the season, both of these teams were kind of favorites to make the playoffs or even win the championship, and both of these teams are starting 0-1. That's not very good. One of these teams is going to have 2 losses and no wins next week, and that's a hole you don't want to be in, trust me. It's hard to make the playoffs from that scenario, especially in this league now with all the fantastic competition that we have. I believe Fizz is going to take this one just because my gut's really telling me this is Fizz's match. This is the one that he's going to win. Volcanion, I feel like is actually going to do something this time. I know I said that last week. Maybe that's just because I love Volcanion and he's so much fun to watch, but I definitely think he's going to be putting in some work this week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Volcanion's a beast, and I think it's just a matter of time before it does show that it could be a threat in the format, because, those crazy offenses, insane defensive typing, move pool, it really does have a lot of potential. I think just Fizz needs to exploit it well.
Yeah, moving on to the next match, we have the Philadelphia Scissors versus the Real Madrid. As I said last week, Miguel is one of those players where you usually see a lot of locks on the week, or lock of the weeks on, a lot of picks on him, but this is one of the few weeks we've ever seen where Miguel is not the favorite to win. Miguel is not been playing very well. He hasn't even been planning very well. We saw this from last season. Towards the end, he kind of slowed down a little bit, and even this season now, his prep for the first game and his play was not very good, not very strong. And this is the type of player in Chimpact that you really have to go after. You really have to go and win. Like you have to, if you want to win, you're going to have to go after him. You're going to have to come up with some good sets, because Chimpact's one of the best players in the whole community. He's going to be tough to take down. I hope Miguel can come through with this win, and I think it was pretty bold for Spastic, his first week picking to actually make Miguel his lock. But hey, to each his own, and I decided to pick Chimpact this week just because I think Miguel is just not in a really place to plan very well for his matches and even play very well, because he hasn't shown me that he's going to this season. So that's why I picked him.
Yeah, that's an amazing point, Nick, because I was thinking about it. When I watched in Season 4, I remember just thinking Miguel was by far, he looked like the strongest player in the league. He came in and week out and just really dominated his opponents on the playing side and preparation side. Preparation especially, he really did not take anybody lightly. And outside of the whole unhappy Stoutland situation, he really did not make many mistakes the whole season. I remember I would watch certain coaches that he was about to play, and I would almost be rooting for the underdogs a lot of those times just to see if anyone could knock him off. And I would see their preparation and say, you know what, that looks pretty good. Maybe they're actually going to take Miguel down this week. And then I would watch his preparation and team building video and be like, nope, he expected all of that, and he really thought, 2 steps ahead of his opponent. So now, lately, I don't think that's necessarily the case. Last season, towards the end, he really didn't give his best showing. I still think he did pretty well, but I don't think he did his best. And now, his first 2 weeks, he's playing 2 of the best battlers in the community in MV and the San Diego Chim Chargers, who he lost to last week decently handedly. I mean, he didn't really prepare for a sub-Jirachi, so I guess you could say if he did prepare for that, it could have been a different game, but, I mean, that's what this is all about. It's all about preparing well, and he didn't really do so, considering sub-Jirachi is a very effective set. And then now he's playing Chimpact, who is another one of the best battlers in the community, who had an extremely strong showing last week against Gubs, who had a pretty nice team matchup against Chim. Chim just prepared so thoroughly, testing over and over again to make sure he had the most optimal team to go against Gubs, and he won very handily. So, with that being said, I just had to go with Chimpact because, like I said last week, I know what Chimpact is capable of. He's a fantastic player, and with the way he's testing and preparing for these games, as opposed to how Mogwai has been preparing for these games, I think Chimpact does have the upper hand here. And all that being said, we will move on to the next game, which is the San Francisco Giants, coached by Gio, going against Cooper and the Utah Jasmine. Now, this was tough to call, but Gio last week came out looking very, very strong. His team is amazing. The Utah Jasmine, Cooper's fire resist rather, is Greninja. So Entei looks like he could come in all day and just click Sacred Fire without much risk. And he had some other threats that just really look powerful against the Jasmine team. So I had to go with Gio for this one. But I have to say, though, Cooper really impressed me last week. When it comes to big matches, he really does tend to step up and surprise people. So I definitely wouldn't be too surprised to see Cooper steal this one. But I think the momentum is more with Gio, and his team looks really, really good. So let's see if he can hold on to that number one in the power ranking spot. I don't think he was number one on both people's lists, but he was definitely number one on one of them. So let's see if he can hold on to that, because he's definitely going to have a big target on his head.
Yeah, Gio's never really played in this position before. Usually I'm a big proponent of Gio. I think he's a really good battler, and I think he's really underrated. But now he's getting the attention that he probably deserves, and it's scary. I think that I don't know how Gio's going to be able to perform in that light. He's a fantastic coach. He has a fantastic team, and I think he plans very, very well. But being number one in the power rankings, having all this buzz that he has around him, he's the fan lock of the week. He had the biggest win margin. It's tough. It's tough to have that target on your back. It's tough to be thought of as the best because you want to go out there and perform your best. And I don't know if Gio can do that. I did decide to pick Gio just because, like Maddie said, I think he is the team matchup. But this would not surprise me at all if Cooper wins this match. This reminds me of back in Season 4. We had Hank the Pidgey, who not only won his first match, but I believe won his second match as well. He was really, really like a very, very coach that everyone wanted to pick because, like a favorite, he was playing very well, winning a lot of matches. And then he played Cooper, and Cooper stomped him. Cooper 6-0'd him with Aggron and Head Smash, and it was not a good time for Hank the Pidgey. And he did not feel good after that win, and it really, really crushed his morale. But I don't see the same thing happening to Gio, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Cooper's one of those coaches, like Maddie said, who shows up in big games, and this is a big game where he wants to show up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
He wants to avenge the no Zapdos on Cooper's team for the first time ever. So, moving on to the next match, we have the San Diego Chim Chargers versus the New York Metapods. And Dan has not looked good in the last match, and we're really, really looking forward to seeing what he does this week versus the San Diego Chim Chargers. MV really played well last week, dominated Miguel, who was thought to be one of the better players in the league, but now maybe not. MV is one of the best players in the community. Dan's one of the best players in the format. It's going to be fun to see how these two mix together. I think MV has this one. I think the way he just dominated Miguel last week really, really means that he's going to be able to dominate Dan this week. It'll be close, but I think MV is going to be in control for most of the match.
Yeah, I could totally see that as well, because MV is just a great fit for this format, as I mentioned last week, and I'll probably keep mentioning every week, because if you guys haven't checked out his channel, you'll see that, if you do decide to check it out, that he's a really, really creative team builder. The guy can make pretty much anything work, and he's just a really strong battler in general. So when he comes out for these games, you best believe that he's been preparing and testing over and over again all these crazy different ideas, and he really is just amazing at making them work. So this type of format is a great fit for him, because I know some people might have doubted him just thinking he's a Smogon player. He's not used to the draft format, but that's not entirely true, because even though he doesn't have the most draft experience, on the same token, all of his Smogon endeavors usually are usually pretty similar to how people would build in a draft type format. So I think that really works to his advantage, and he showed how dangerous of a threat he could be last week against a great team and a fantastic player in Miguel. So I think he's going to do the same this week against Dan, because I don't know. I have a good feeling with Envy. I'm happy to say that my bold prediction is still alive at this point, because he did beat Miguel, which a lot of people did not expect. My bold prediction was that Envy would go undefeated and shock the whole league. But although that is unlikely, I still do think that he's going to be a huge threat. And if he can beat A-Drive, then that he'd have beaten the Season 4 and Season 5 champions back-to-back, which is the ideal way to start off your season in the GBA.
Yeah, those were really some fantastic points, Matty. And with all of that said, we're going to be wrapping up the Pick'em crew for week 2. A lot of fun to record. We hope to see you guys make your picks for next week. Really, really vote in the fan, because it's very, very important to get your feedback to see how you guys are perceiving the coaches and who you think is going to win every week. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun to see.
Yeah, it really is. Now is your chance to really capitalize on some of the analysts' not great week ones when it came to picking, because although the fans didn't do too well either, we didn't really get too far ahead. So you could definitely come back and beat us out. So definitely, get your opinions out there. Vote in those Twitter polls, because it's a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to coming back here next week to see how everyone did, and seeing you guys again. So I hope you enjoyed the video.
Yeah, and peace out.